Indonesia is the largest country in Southeast Asia. They are categorized as upper middle income country, and also member of the G20. The only member of G20 from ASEAN countries. With GDP over $1.4 trillion, Indonesia is 16th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP. And 7th largest economy by GDP PPP. With estimation of more than $4.3 trillion as 2023. Indonesia was the second fastest growing economy in G20, just behind China. They have healthy economic growth of 5 to 6% every year. And their economy is predicted to be the 4th largest economy in the world by 2045. Indonesia population has around 280 million people. This means, Indonesia is the world's 4th most populous country. They also the most populous Muslim majority country in the world. Most of their population live in Java Island. More than 145 million people live in Java, an area which have similar size to Greece. Indonesia will have a population of 309 million people in next decade. And their population will peak in the year of 2040s. Their GDP per capita will reach $5,000 by 2023. And will reach $25,000 by 2045. Indonesia is an island nation in Southeast Asia. Located strategically between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It consists of over 17,000 islands, one of the largest archipelago country in the world. Their major island including Sumatra, Java, Sulawesi, and parts of Borneo and New Guinea. Indonesia is also 14th largest country in the world by land area. But if you count exclusive economic zone, they are 6th largest country in the world. Exclusive economic zone is an area where a country have jurisdiction over resources. That is, because Indonesia has a large area of ocean spanning between their archipelago and outer territory. Indonesia is a presidential republic with an elected legislature. There are 38 provinces, some of which have special status. The Yogyakarta province, for example, is in the central of Java. They are still headed by monarchs or sultan. Yogyakarta is the only province in Indonesia that is governed by a hereditary monarch, not an elected governor. The country's capital, Jakarta, is the 2nd largest city in the world. The Indonesian government is in progress to move its capital city into Borneo. They build an entire new city in that island, in hope to release some burden from Jakarta. Indonesia is bordered by Papua New Guinea, East Timor and Malaysia to the east, as well as Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, Australia, Palau, and India. Despite its large and dense population, Indonesia has vast wilderness areas that are among the most biodiverse in the world. Indonesia has a mixed economy in which the private sector and government play vital roles. As the only G20 member state in Southeast Asia, the country has the largest economy in the region and usually respected as the leader of ASEAN. In 2014, Jakarta announced the Global Maritime Fulcrum Doctrine. The project was perceived as potentially competing with or complementary to China's Maritime Silk Road, which is a part of Beijing's Grand Belt and Road Initiative. The Global Maritime Fulcrum originally listed 5 goals: to rebuild maritime culture, manage marine resources, develop maritime infrastructure and connectivity, advance maritime diplomacy and augment maritime defense forces. Indonesia is envisioned as a strong maritime nation. Increase contribution to peace and stability in the region and the world. It also recognizes that the country is located in an area where the United States, the dominant superpower, and China, a rising superpower, are competing for influence. In January 2017, Indonesia's government decided to strengthen its control over energy joint venture. It imposed new rules for such ventures that eradicated the cost recovery regime and complicated investment conditions for foreign oil and gas companies. Indonesia is too weak to compete with Beijing's Maritime Silk Road initiative. But its global maritime fulcrum doctrine stands a good chance of winning support. At least from its neighbors in ASEAN, and also from Australia, India, and Japan. The global maritime fulcrum provides a good framework for strengthening regional cooperation. Under favorable conditions, might have a restraining influence on Beijing's behavior. Like other countries in the region, Indonesia is deeply concerned about Beijing's 9-dash line. A demarcation of China's territorial claims in the South China Sea. These claims overlap with Indonesia's continental shelf, and its exclusive economic zone, which to the north extends to the Natuna Islands. Beijing allowed its fishing vessels to violate this exclusion zone, which led to 2 naval confrontations in June 2016. Indonesia alone is one of main source of world fisheries. In 2015, the total production of seafood reached about 22 million metric tons, valued at around $18 billion. Agriculture is a key sector which contributed to 14.4% of GDP. Currently, there are around 30% of the land area used for agriculture and employed about 49 million people. Indonesia was the only Southeast Asian member of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, until its suspension in 2009. In 1999, crude and condensate output averaged 1.5 million barrels per day, and in 1998, the oil and gas sector including refining, contributed approximately 9% to GDP. However, as 2005, crude oil and condensate output were 1.07 million barrels. Indonesia's manufacturing sector has historically played a key role in the country's economic development and now contributes to 20% of GDP. The government has ambitious plans to propel the country into the top 10 biggest economies in the world by 2030, with manufacturing at the heart of this goal. In 2010, Indonesia sold 7.6 million motorcycles, which were mainly produced in the country with almost 100% local components. Honda led the market with a 50.9% market share, followed by Yamaha with 41.3%. Indonesia's internet economy reached $77 billion in 2022, and is expected to cross the $130 billion mark by 2025. In conclusion, Indonesia possesses a considerable and growing economic power in the global landscape, driven by a combination of factors that include its large population, substantial GDP size, abundant natural resources, diversifying manufacturing sector, strategic geopolitical location, and a burgeoning digital economy. These elements collectively contribute to Indonesia's economic strength and influence within the Southeast Asian region, and on the global stage.